right. Because I bet you that's not on the website.
No. So we are on Facebook right now. We are live, and we're cooking, so we can talk whatever. But if I can forward it to you. We are live.
Senior Energy Services Manager. Sorry.
Yep.
Got to get that senior thing in there, you know.
Yes, you have to. Yeah, that's fairly new, so I was like, yeah, might as well use it. Right? Might as well use it.
Hi, I'm from Prairie, and you're listening to 103.5, the Sun Community Radio, WLSP Outdoor, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
Here we go.
The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sunbury
Am I supposed to hear anything?
video service providers or the staff and elected officials of the
Got it.
Hello friends, Bill Baker here, host of the Sunbury Real Estate Show, found right here on 103.5 FM, The Sun, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Hey, when I'm not on the radio, I'm working with folks just like you to help them buy and sell homes. I'm proud to say that my team, the Baker Realty Group, has been helping people buy and sell homes in the greater Sunbury area for over 10 years.
Hey, Ron, thanks.
Information about buying and selling a home is available on my website, thebakerrealtygroup.com.
People are on right now.
On Facebook by searching
Wow.
the Baker Realty Group or by calling 608-575-6731. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Sunbury Real Estate Show with Bill Baker and Ron Stanfield. Brought to you by the Baker Realty Group.
Welcome to the Sun Prairie Real Estate Show with your host, Bill Baker.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and a happy Ducky Wednesday, thunderstorm, snowy, kind of hail kind of day. But it's nice and dry here in the 103.5 studios. Hey, I got an interesting subject today that people have talked to me about, and I have to say that this is a subject that gives me agita. Ooh, I used a great word there. Agita, upset stomach, queasy stomach at times, because if you're like me, if you live in the city of Sun Prairie, you have seen, should I say the word locust? Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I know my neighborhood has been consumed with these folks going door to door to offer us incredible deals on solar panels and why we all should convert to solar panels. And I've wanted to have this conversation for a long time. They are the only industry that has refused to be on my show. Well, today we're going to stop that. We've got some folks that know what this is all about. We've got some good insights. We're going to have a great conversation about it, because when everything is down and you need answers, where do you go? Sun Prairie Utilities. And what do we do about that? We ask the Senior Energy Services Manager, Clint Cry, and of course our favorite service representative, Lori Ewalt, to come in and talk about this today. So they're going to get into this and share some ideas. And a huge thank you to Lori for doing this, because she's one of my chamber buddies and also a fellow ambassador to the Sunbury Chamber of Commerce. So we'll get into that in a few minutes. We're waiting for Laura to get here. We're not going to wait for her, but she's due to be here. I'll bet you I've received a text already going, I don't want to get wet because I'm going to melt or something like that. No, she's out in the parking lot. I know something, but anyway. But we're going to do this. Hey, you're listening to 103.5 WLSP, the Sun, right here in beautiful Sun Prairie, home of Station of the Year. And we're underwritten by those wonderful folks at the Bank of Sun Prairie, the Baker Realty Group, and of course, Wintrust Mortgage. You know, the housing market right now is what some people would call it crazy. I call it challenging. And the reason I call it challenging is because we don't have that inventory. It's going to be like that for quite a while. I'm talking years. And we still have a high demand of people wanting to buy a house. Yes, it's 6.5%, that low interest rate. I didn't get one or anything like that from the folks in the studio, but that low interest rate of 6.5%, 6% is still fantastic. The key is we have to find the houses for you. And so we try to We tried to do it. Oh, Laura Stanfield is calling. Oh, we should do this on the air. This would be hilarious. Hello, this is 103.5. Oh, she's laughing. I know she. Are you there, caller? Laura Stanfield, you're not in the studio. You should be here. She called me instead of texting me. I'll bet you anything. But anyway, so we've got some stuff to talk about. Our whole show is all built around basically educating you and informing you on what's going on in real estate. How to buy things, how to sell things, what are the investment side of this. And solar panels are a big thing. They're a huge thing because it is all about clean energy. It is about the environment and what we can do to it. Now, it's a controversy. It is. Electric cars, it's a controversy, depending on who you are and where you are. And she has made it down into the studio. She's flown in by helicopter.
Woo!
You
It's
called
chilly
us,
out
you
there.
know.
Huh?
You called us.
I did?
You were on the air. Yeah, you called us.
Oh, what did I say?
I don't know.
Oh, hopefully I didn't say anything mean. I feel like I'm sitting on the floor.
I don't know, but you did call us.
Okay.
It was funny. I'm like, you know we're on the air. Why are you calling us?
Oops. I don't know. I'll just be low.
So, Clint, you're going to need to grab that microphone and pull that towards you. Use both hands, grip it firmly, and pull.
Even more, or is that good?
Okay, that's fine. I think we'll be right. Let's check you out. You okay?
I wasn't planning on talking.
Oh, yes, you're talking. And then there's
You
more.
are. Is
Are
your
you
name Laura
messing with
too?
the camera?
Yeah, I am, because
Mother, pus bucket. I tell you.
that's not a thing. It's not a word.
Well, then now I
The
gotta check
chair
it.
is really low, so that's why the camera's looking like that,
Oh, it is?
I think. Oh, hey.
Wow, look at that.
Woo-hoo.
There's been a low rider in that seat, huh?
Right? That works. Okay. that's
Okay, now
better.
now you're completely out of camera. Okay, now you're in camera. Okay, now we can do camera on the radio show. It's kind of nice. I tell you.
Okay.
So here's what I want you to know. Wisconsin ranks 23rd in the nation in solar installations. Governor Tony Evers has put forward an ambitious plan to reach 100% carbon-free energy by 2050. That's a huge goal, folks. But solar energy is the center of that strategy. Solar panels are increasingly popular in the Badger State despite the relatively cheap traditional electricity rates compared to many other states. So Save on Energy, yeah, they're right around here, reports that Wisconsin is among the top 10 states with the lowest electricity bills. Thank you. Thank you. I like to be at the top of something good like that. Coal is one of the main sources for electricity generation in the state, and Wisconsin average November residential electricity bills were $113.92, or $1,367 per year. However, recent rate hikes. Why do you guys always want to give us rate hikes? I don't know why. Keep those prices low. Rate hikes by Wisconsin utility regulators will make electricity more expensive in 2023. Going solar could help you save money on electricity bills, protect you from utility price fluctuations, and cut residential carbon emissions, and boost your home values. That last part is controversial. I talked to several people today about, does it boost home values? Some are going, nope. Others are going, yep. Some go a little bit. Some say no. It's interesting. So we're gonna get into this. According to the data from the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, wherever they are, big think tank, probably down in Lodi, Wisconsin. Residential solar installations in Wisconsin are cheaper than the national average because they're smaller than the national average per watt. Wisconsin solar actually cost more. Wow. So let's get into this. Clint, Lori, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Now you got to lean forward.
Oh, sorry. Is that not?
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Can you hear your voice in it?
A little bit, yeah.
Good. Listen to my voice.
Yep.
Now hear your voice.
Got it.
Okay, got it. Hey, this is an interesting subject that's out there. I think solar's pretty cool and all that stuff. but I've got a lot of things to talk to you about. But I'll start with you, Clint, and say, what do you think about this? You're the expert on it. That's what Lori has told me. She says, I need to bring the expert in here to talk about this.
Well, as it relates to, like, you know, if it's going to increase the value of your home, that's really depends on the person that you talk to. I mean, and that depends on the person who's buying that home. So I've heard it does increase the value of your home, but then I've also talked to some people who say, I would never buy that home simply because it looks bad. The solar panels look bad, and I just wouldn't want to have that as a part of the home that I buy.
Right.
So that is like up in the air, back and forth. It really depends on who you talk to. Solar costs have come down in the last 10, 15, 20 years. They've really come down. Currently right now, we're looking at like probably $3.33, that's per watt. Thinking about installed cost, and that's before the ITC, before the 30% tax
ITC?
credit. Yeah, the investment tax credit,
Okay.
like that 30% that you can get for installing your solar panels in your home. So
The whole thing of the process of even finding out information about the cost for solar panels, I mean, it's worse than real estate agents. Going to Zillow, and then everybody starts calling you as a consumer, you know?
Yeah, so I always tell people just to visit our website, sunprairieutilities.com. We have a full page there that it's called Going Solar, and we hope that people kind of visit that. We've got some solar estimates that are on there, Energy Sage. I mean, we have like a Google sunroof. I think that is one that can also kind of look at your home, specific to where it's kind of lined up versus south, and you can kind of see where your panels will do. But there's also some cost estimates there too. But just in general, though, the price of solar has come down over the last few years. However, COVID really threw a wrench into that, because in the last probably 2 to 3 years, we've seen an increase in solar, just from supply chain issues, people actually having trouble getting the panels, and so sometimes the installers are ordering them, in bulk and trying to keep them in a warehouse, and then they go out and try to do the sales and so forth. So that can help with costs as well. But I've seen the increase here recently, in the last maybe 2 years probably. It's kind of gone up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've seen that
Yeah.
in the information. Or do you have solar in your house?
I do not.
You do not. Okay.
Do we know
What,
how many
you?
in Sun Prairie do?
No, I do not. I do not have solar. But I don't live in Sun Prairie. I'm in Madison, but no, I don't have.
What's wrong with you?
It was
wrong
last
with
time
you?
I heard for Sun Prairie, it was 280.
280 homes?
We have, I think I wrote this down. Hang on.
18,000 or?
Yeah, we've got 216 customers that currently have solar right now. Now that includes residential and our commercial accounts as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like at 2.2 megawatts or 2,217 kW, which is kilowatts. So that's a huge increase, and maybe that's only been 90% of that's been in the past 3 years, solar.
Wow.
Yeah, so it has taken everything by storm, and it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, solar is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Your energy's come from the sun. Your home is using that energy, so it's a good thing. Some people, may not like the way it looks, but overall, it's a good thing. But it's like anything. It's like, what do you want to spend your money on, right? It's like, it's going to save you on your bills, yes, but it just depends on how much money you really want to put up front for the cost of it, what kind of an interest rate you can get over a long-term term of the loan. I mean, so it goes into anything that you do when you're looking at buying something substantial like that for your home.
The thing is that I still think we're in the infant stages of solar panels. I can see it being a shingle, basically. I mean, it's what it's going to be. There are products that you can buy out there that are very costly that just replace the roof. They are the roof itself.
Yeah, so Tesla has that right now. I mean, I think they actually are doing some installs of that out in California, I think. So no, that's a good point. There probably will come to that in the future. I mean, if I had to guess, a lot of newer homes in the future will just be integrated with solar, or at least be solar ready for the person that wants it to be, probably. Yeah.
Until an environmental group comes out and says that the mining of the components for this is too caustic to the world, and then they shut it all down. I mean, honestly, that's what that is one of the big issues with the cars or with the panels and that. And
I mean, it really is just like, you have to think about, solar is great and it is a good thing, but like out in California, out in the West, it's even a better thing. It's year-round, sunny, it's awesome. But in Wisconsin, it is a good thing, but we have a lot of clouds in Wisconsin.
Sure do.
And in the
Like
middle,
today.
yeah, and it's like in the
Totally
middle.
different politics.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of the winter, I get calls from customers and like, well, I didn't see any generation from my panels, and it's like, well, we just had a record month where we had 28 days of no sun. So that is a hard one, and I always try to talk to the customers about that before they make a purchase, because you have to bring that into consideration. So it really is a huge fluctuation and swing on what happens when we're in this part of the country.
Sure.
So down south and out west, it makes sense. The Midwest pricing for kilowatt hours is extremely cheap. It's 9 cents per kilowatt hour right now.
Really?
So yeah, so it's
Really?
yeah. For here at Sun Prairie Utilities, it's 9
Really?
cents per kilowatt hour. But out west, that might be like 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
I calculated like $3 a kilowatt hour for me.
Nope. So you have a $12.75, which is a customer charge on your bill. So you're probably looking at that as a total aggregate of the cost.
$12.75.
That's a customer charge that everybody in Sun Prairie pays.
It's just I have to have that charge.
You do. So that's
because
for
I live in Sun Prairie.
Well, what is it for? Yeah.
That's for like your transformers, the wire, the distribution cost. That's basically to serve you as a customer. That costs $12.75. Now the energy charge, the kilowatt hour charge, that's 9 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got to break it down. That's
You
the
do,
thing.
yep.
So when I ran the information, I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is interesting. And it fluctuates. I mean, I was like, holy. So that explains why it fluctuates. Because I'm not recording exact amounts of kilowatt hour.
So yes, I mean when the rates go up, that's kilowatt hour charge can change, and that's when. Now we haven't had a rate increase in like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are going in for one right now that's at the PSC.
Why are you building something?
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with
Actually,
the building,
no,
though.
yeah.
This doesn't have anything to do with
Or
the building.
fluoride?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
No.
I knew
boy.
I did fluoride in somewhere, right?
I was
So-
waiting for that.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively to other local utilities in Wisconsin, we do really well. We're actually lower, and so we're proud of that in general as it relates and compares to other IOUs. We're always right there with them, or even a little bit lower.
So let's talk about the structure of SPU.
Sure.
SPU is not a city entity, correct?
Sun Prairie Utilities technically is a city
Oh, it is?
entity. Well, I think in theory, technically, it's the city owns the utility. Now, a lot of people, but they're two separate bodies.
There you go.
So I would probably stress that as being like they're ran individually. So Sun Prairie Utilities Commission actually runs Sun Prairie Utilities. That
Okay.
is a board that we meets monthly. They make decisions on policy for internally, and they kind of essentially run Sun Prairie Utilities.
Okay.
Now WPPI, and that's the company that I work for, we are the wholesale power supplier to Sun Prairie Utilities. So we provide wholesale power, but also just services and programs, metering, data warehousing. We do all of that for our member utilities. Now there's 51 member communities, and that's across Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan. And so that's how, and it's member owned. So WPPI is owned by the members, like Sun Prairie Utilities, Mount Horeb, Stoughton. So we have many members, and so they own WPPI. And that started back in the 80s. That was essentially to joint action agency, really to kind of get a better hold on pricing of energies. And so yeah, it's a municipality, it's owned by the people, and so yeah, it's not for profit.
I thought there were 3 people that ran Sun Prairie Utilities: Lori, Ashley Fox, and Nicole Birch. I thought those were the people that ran it. I did. Nicole is hilarious. Nicole's fantastic. Love her to death. Her and Ashley. Gotten to know Lori. Love her too. Don't tell her.
No, we're really lucky. I mean, the commission is great, really responsible, just responsive to everything that's going on with community members, and of course Rick Wickland. I mean, he's really great.
Yeah, he is.
He really kind of leads us in the right direction that we need to be. But also, we're on the board of directors. The utility is at WPPI, and WPPI, like I said, is member owned. So all of those bigger decisions that are made are driven by our member utilities. So that's a good thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have to tell you a little story about Nicole. So I had a condo at Crown Point, and I'm going back and forth to Michigan and back here and all this stuff, and I got my bill was $25. So I called her and I said, hey, how come this is so high? She goes, Bill, it's $25. I said, I know, but it's high. I haven't been here. I haven't been here in a month. She goes, Bill, it's not a big bill. It's $25. It's normal. I said, but I didn't use anything. She goes, there's a minimum charge for being an SPU customer.
Yeah.
$25. I said, but I turned the main box off. I had no electricity coming in here. She goes, no, you didn't. And she says, it's a minimum charge. Well, you guys know her personality. She's awesome.
Yeah.
That's patience. I like that.
Well, she knows it's me, and she's like, you're so full of crap. So, and she's right. I'll give her that. But huge story, $25, and I was complaining about it.
You got to remember too that your utility bill typically has your water charge, so it's not your
Water
Sun Prairie
isn't part of that.
utilities. You have a water meter, water. You're also getting billed sewer and stormwater. We bill that for the city of Sun Prairie.
All of
So a
that's
lot-
in my condo. Was in my
Okay.
condo.
Oh.
Well,
yeah.
for most residents.
So I'm
that-
like, $25, man, come on. A whole $25. my bill might be $30. Maybe when I was there living there full time, but anyway.
That's an insane bill. Do you live in the dark?
No. Actually, I don't mind the dark though, but I'm that kind of guy. I don't mind the dark. Sun Prairie Utilities, I want to tell you, Lori, and say thank you for sponsoring the chamber event last week, because getting the tour was priceless. I had no idea. And I don't think people in the city understand everything that you guys do, because it's huge. It's huger. Let's use huger.
That's not a word, but okay.
It's a billism.
It is. This is true.
Write that down, billism.
No, I don't have to.
But no, it was really cool, and seeing everybody, and visiting with Rick for a while, and it was just it was a great little get together, and really seeing behind the scenes. And you guys need a bigger place.
We do. We're hoping.
And we're going, yeah.
We're hoping, yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're parking trucks in 2 and 3 deep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, there have been some years that have been taken off backing up trucks
Yeah.
because there's just nowhere to go. And now with construction right next door,
Right.
there is even less space. We lost
Yeah.
about 20 spaces over there. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
we have vehicles kind of scattered across the city, and we're all parking and just employees. We don't have
Yeah.
parking for just employees. So
If you were
we're
charging
getting
your
creative.
if you were charging your car in our parking lot, we apologize. We are not doing EV charging in our parking lot right now just because there's no parking. So
Yes, it had to be turned
a
off.
couple of people actually have
turned
called
off?
me. They're like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" I'm like, "Well, sorry, it's just we actually have no more parking, so we can't like limit it to EV charging right now."
Yeah, and by the way, we need to take all EV charging locations and move them to the farthest point from the entrance of a building.
To the entrance, yeah.
Yeah, because I've come up with this thing. Actually, I saw it in the news, and the guy got a ticket for it. He had a gas vehicle and just opened up his gas tank and put the thing in there.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
You got a ticket. You got a ticket.
He got a ticket for
Huh.
it. But then
That's funny.
let's see, electricity
Yeah.
and gas fumes.
Interesting.
Like water and electricity.
Yeah.
They kind of like each other.
Where are other charging stations in Sun Prairie?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Are there?
the city is getting ready to install a few at City Hall. We've got Woodman's has some, and we have an EV Go charging that's kind of behind the utility. But it's a fast charger, but I don't even think it's working anymore, actually. It was a lease type thing, and I don't even know if it's still working, or it wasn't within the past few months.
Was
But
that city owned, that one?
that was a lease, yeah. That was a lease by the city for that little area. I'm trying to think of the name of that parking lot, whatever that is.
Right
It's
behind the Chamber of Commerce there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of
I
the
can't remember.
public ones.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah.
All right.
So yes,
There's
there'll
other
probably be
places to
more
go.
of those coming soon, shortly. I think the utility at our new facility, we're going to have some charging stations as well.
One of my favorite things to do is driving down towards her hometown in beautiful Illinois.
Be nice.
I know.
We don't control where we're from.
Or all of the wind
You know?
turbines that are there.
Oh yeah.
And you never realize how big those things are until you pass one of those trucks hauling the blade.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
giant.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Those things are huge. Why don't we have any in Sun Prairie?
Some Prairie?
Where would you put them?
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to have them simply
Not in
because
the
they don't
city.
like the way they look.
Or they don't.
Well, we have the airport right here, and so
Oh, sure.
you can't have that
Oh.
sort of structure with the airport being this close. It's actually been looked at before
Has it?
from developers and actually wanting to do, but the airport makes it really inconvenient
That
for
makes
doing
sense.
anything like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before I got here today, I I went to Solar Estimates to see what my cost would be.
Yeah.
And to see what I thought they'd give me the information, hopefully. They did give me information, but now they're going to call me tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I had to do
With
that.
a quote, an actual
Uh-huh.
quote?
Yeah, so I'm on there and I'm going, my phone number, 608-555-1212. And they said, we've just texted you a code to
Yeah.
give you your estimate on it.
Oops, I didn't get it.
I think a lot of it, yeah. So that one actually, once you fill it out, they can look at like the best estimates
Yeah.
that an installers are putting out there as far as KW installed, and then they'll probably call you and be like, hey, this is what we got.
So they wanted to do the alignment. They had a picture
Yeah.
of my house, and they said, put the cursor on the middle of your roof. I'm like, why can't you do that? And, it's technology, man. So they came through, and they said the quote was 20 panels, a system size of 6.8 kilowatts, which that means nothing to me because I have no reference point. 8,330 kilowatt hours, 25 years savings, they said, of $53,000.
25-year savings?
Yeah, annual production of 33 kilowatts, and then a 25-year savings of 53,000. Monthly loan payment of $70 is what they said.
Is this saying your consumption is $4.13 per kilowatt hour?
Well, that's what,
typically?
because I did it off, kilowatts divided by my monthly average.
You probably looked at it,
Yeah.
like a blended rate for your total.
It's not blended. I took
Yeah.
kilowatt
Yeah.
hours, and I took what the average monthly charge was. I took 12 months, averaged it out, and that's what it is. And then if you look down there, I put October, but you told me that includes the fees and all that too, so.
Yeah, your
you'd have to
customer
drop
charge
that
will
off,
be
right.
there even when you have
Yeah, yeah.
solar. We'll still
Right.
be your backup in case,
And so what was the cost of it though? It was what? You said it was 53,000?
Yeah.
That was the cost of a 6.8
No.
It was
kilowatt?
going to
Savings.
be. It was going
Oh,
to
the
be
savings.
$70 a month.
Gotcha.
And I didn't lay out how many years that was.
I was
Once
gonna
we
ask
can
that.
figure that out, but
Yeah,
um,
that's a long time.
yeah. But the cost of the system was going to be $17,000.
Now
And
see,
then-
that's not bad. I mean, like, I've been seeing like 6 kW systems about $20,000. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I've been seeing. So that's about right. A 6 kW system about $20,000. That's kind of their more recent stuff that I saw. But then I've seen the outliers being like a 12 kW system being like $48,000. So it's like, it really depends. When people call the utility, and that's what we hope to do, is just say, call the utility, we can talk through these things. That's the first thing I tell people is like, you should just get multiple quotes. So go through that process. You can get multiple companies are willing to give you free quotes right now. So it's a good thing. And you can go through it. You can work through the quotes. If you've got questions, you can call the utility. We can kind of help you walk through that if it's a kind of a good deal or not. I won't mention any names on specific installers, but
That's a problem.
yeah, so it has been a problem, but I think from a utility standpoint, that's what we're trying to do, is just let people know, call us and go to the website.
Right.
Getting quotes is the most important thing, because a lot of times that I'm seeing, and this isn't happening with all of them, but in the proposals, they make it sound more attractive than it really is based on the annual percent increase of utility costs. So they do that over
I
a
know.
25-year period, and they were doing a 5% annual.
Right.
So if you do that, oh my gosh, that's going to look like it's
It
crazy
looks
high.
huge.
So when you really parse
Because
it
you can
out,
increase value. That's what they're saying.
yeah,
Increase. And
that's right. So to me, I look at that and I'm like, that's really not a great thing for the customer to see, because
Sure.
it's not true. We haven't had a rate increase in 3
3
years,
years, right.
but on average, I think you could probably realistically think about a 1%
Uh-huh.
increase per year if you wanted to get it into that formula of a payback when you wanted to look at years. But in general, you really are looking at like a 12 to 13 year payback on solar PV systems.
So go
in
to
general.
this page
Yep.
that I have up there. Now they said with the incentives and everything, it would be about $5,000 in incentives,
Yeah.
which would take my price to $11,572, which is a 8-year, 2-month payback. And I was like, okay, 8 years? I'm not going to be there 8 years.
Right.
Well,
But
that was my question. What if you sell your house?
well, we're going to get to that, because I talked to appraisers, I talked to inspectors, I talk to everybody about that, and then I'll share my thoughts as a realtor on it, that what I know on it. But yeah, I like that where they say my current monthly bill before solar is $100, but I'd say it's probably more like $120, probably on average if you're going to do it that way. And then my monthly savings would be, they put my monthly savings would be $100 though. I'm like, no. But let's make it that way. Let's just say it's a $30 savings per month. That's $600 savings a year.
So, and typically that's the way I look at it. It's about $700 savings a year from a 6 kW system. That's about what you're going to get.
Right. And then what's my payment for the solar the system?
Well, it depends. It depends on if you're paying that up front or if you're paying it on a loan on a monthly basis.
Right.
So that's why I tell people, if you can look for other sources of funding that is not through an installer, I've seen that being a lot cheaper from an interest rate standpoint, because that's how they get you.
Sure.
They have, and again, I won't mention any names, but these are high-pressured salespeople that they really want to, I don't want to say goat you into doing it, but it's like they kind of make you feel bad that you're not doing solar, and how could you not do solar? It would be stupid if you didn't.
You're not
But,
environmentally
yeah,
friendly.
it's like if you
right?
really
You're
get into
part
the
of
numbers on it, and you compare it to other installers, there's other pricing that's better out there, considering. Because that, like, one of the main things that drove us nuts is like people would say, "Oh, you're not going to have a utility bill." That was one of the first things that we got calls about, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you know,
that's what they were saying.
You actually have to, you know, have a customer charge that we talked about earlier. And you're paying for water, you're paying for the sewer. I mean, so you're paying all of that, and you can have a retail rate credit on your bill if you're producing more than you used over the course of the month. But you're still going to have a bill. I mean, you can carry that over as a credit. It's a line item credit on your bill, and that's how we do it at Prairie Utilities. So that was fairly annoying. Like, first off, like them saying you're not going to have a bill. You're going to have a bill. It's just going to be a lower bill because the solar is offsetting your usage.
Can you cut off your electric from SPU?
Not if you want your house to be inhabitable.
Well, you have solar.
So you can.
You can't rely on it, though.
Well, you can go into what's considered islanding mode, where
what's it called?
Well,
Islanding,
where it's basically you're cutting yourself off from the utility grid if there's an outage, so to speak. Okay. So, but you do that, you have to have some pretty big costs sunk into battery along with your with the solar. So the way that the inverters work, they're converting DC energy into AC energy. Now that inverter has a UL listing that once it senses a voltage loss, it will shut off. And so it won't produce energy once the utility grid goes out. Now, if you install a battery with that, it actually captures and feeds energy, that sine wave, to that inverter, and it will actually make that inverter work. So you can have a transfer switch that will actually kind of island you off from the grid, essentially. Your home will be producing energy because the inverter will continue to work, and the battery will be feeding it as well.
So let me translate, folks out there in Sun Prairie land. The Gewitzit goes into the doohickey that makes the thingamabob work. That's all you need to know.
Well, the thing is,
it was a good explanation.
So think about the batteries that it takes. So like a Tesla Powerwall, that's like anywhere from $10,000 to $14,000 to put one of those on.
Just the batteries.
Just the battery alone. Okay, so then you're talking we were talking costs of over $20,000 just to do solar. So then you really start getting into some numbers. When in comparative, we have really low rates for utility rates when we're talking across the country. Now, environmentally, if you are big on sustainability and you think that you want to have solar on your house, that's great. Yes, you can do that. But again, it all comes back to what do you as a person want to spend your money on. Now, I will say that over time, WPPI, like I mentioned before, we're the wholesale power supplier, we're obviously always going to be adding renewable energy to our portfolio. That's one of the things that we always do. We're over 24% right now with renewable energy. 42% is carbon-free right now when we look at nuclear.
How much?
42%.
Wow, in Madison? Or Dane County?
That's for our renewable energy portfolio that we provide each of our utilities. So it's a percentage of what each one is. So that's and we have a goal in general, a goal of 2050 being carbon free as well. WPPI, that's kind of what we're setting our sights on. Now, it's not going to be easy to get there. It's going to be costly, but that's one of the things that we want to do is make sure any investment that we make is reliable and is cost effective for our members. So we're constantly adding, like we just did 100 megawatts at Point Beach Solar last year. It came online. So that's what we try to do, infusing our portfolio with renewable energy, because we know that's where we want to go. It's sustainable and that's the right thing to do, and we're going to do that. So then if you start looking at the numbers of like, well, how much energy do I want to offset with renewable energy? Well, your power supply is already at 42% for carbon free. So you're actually kind of doing well already. So it depends on how much money you want to spend to get that full capture.
Sure.
Now, we do have other programs for people who do not want to put solar on their house, or they have lots of trees where solar panels just aren't going to work, or they live in an apartment complex, for example. So we have a Choose Renewable program, and that's $2 per 300 kilowatt hour block of energy. So you can purchase, and it's an add-on. It's basically an add-on of $2 per block onto your bill that you can, that ensures WPPI is going out and buying renewable energy for you. And so that your energy is coming from a renewable energy resource, and that's $2 per block. So that's a great, and that's really cheap, right? It used to be $3, but the price of solar has come down so much where it's like, great, now we can just kind of lower the cost of that program. So I always tell people, think about long term that you're going to be in your home. Like you mentioned earlier, you may not be there. Whatever your calculation was for an 8-year payback, I'm seeing mainly 10 to 12 probably.
I'm with you on the 10 to 12.
But it's like kind of, how long are you going to be in the house?
Right.
If you're only going to be there for 5 years, is it worth it? Maybe not for you. Maybe it is for you. It depends on how much more discretionary income you have and you want to spend. But maybe it's worth just doing a few Choose Renewable blocks as well until you want to sell your home.
Sure.
So, and then it goes back to like, well, it could increase the value of your home, but man, I don't know. It depends on who you talk to.
Right, exactly. It depends on. No, so
I feel like it's a swimming pool. Like that adds
There you
value
go.
for
Yeah.
some and takes. Yeah.
If you're, yes, that's exactly right. There are people that love swimming pools,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
priceless when they buy a home.
Yeah.
They'll pay whatever to get that pool. And then there's the grandmother that's grandkids,
Yeah.
and they're not touching that house.
Yeah.
Or you just don't want the maintenance, the upkeep, the whatever.
Yeah, that's the same thing. But it's like cleaning your house. You just got to go out and clean your pool. Actually, just throw the little sweeper in. He cleans it for you. I have experience
It
with
doesn't
that.
sound that simple. Okay.
It is that simple.
Okay.
I actually blew up a filter once. I blew it up.
That would have been fun to see.
Filter. Well, since you asked, I'll let you know.
I knew you'd want to tell.
So we had a pool that was 20 by 40 out in the big house, as I used to call it. And my filter system was in my shed, which is 5,000 square feet. Had a heater, had the filtering system and everything, and I'd go down there and I'd clean it. And then what I would do is, and you're throwing levers and everything, and then when I get finished, I would throw in my shock into the filter, and that's when you open up all your valves. Well, I failed to do that once.
Once.
And, once.
That's all it took.
And so I happened to walk outside of the shed. This is a big shed. It's 5,000
I was just
square
going to
foot.
say, I've never heard anyone call it 5,000 square
It's a
foot.
shed.
Yeah,
Concrete.
shed.
Is there, I have stored all my medical stuff down there. I walk out and I'm like, oh, I forgot to, and then boom! PVC came through the metal. And if I'd been there, I would have been dead.
Wowzer.
It just exploded. And I don't know, was it 330 PV? I don't know what it's called. It went through, it was stuck all in the aluminum
Holy
inside
cow.
and stuff.
Wow.
And then I ran back in the building and I got hit by the chlorine. And then I'm back outside and I'm throwing up and all that stuff. But
Chlorine
yeah.
gas.
Wow.
That'll get you.
That's
Oh my
quite
God.
a thing.
Yeah, but
Can I ask
I
a
never
question?
did that again.
No more pools for
Good.
you.
I'm
No,
glad
I
you
don't.
learned. Not everybody
There's a whole
learns.
Yeah, when we first bought the house, and we got to get back on the subject. I got to tell you this is a funny story. So when we first bought the house, my wife at the time, I won't mention Jean's name, she says, "Hey, it's heated. It's a heated pool." I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "Well, let's just keep it open all year round." I'm like, "We have winter here." a lot of snow. She goes, but it's heated. It'll be cool. We'll go in there swimming.
Like
Right
a
outside the
sauna,
pool.
right? When it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we hit November, and we had a 1,000-gallon propane tank that was heating this stuff, and it was gone.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
And I said, we have to get another tank. She goes, another tank of what? I said, gas. One of the propane tanks, natural gas. And she goes, how often is this going to happen? I said, every month. She's like, we need to close the pool.
She just needed to learn.
Right.
That's okay.
Yes.
I
And
get
so I
it.
go up to the guys on Main Street, who are they? Patio Pleasures. And I said to Tom, I got a pool that's open, I need to close it. And he goes, we're going to be going into December. And I'm like, dude, I got a story about it. Just tell me whatever it's going to cost me and just go close that pool. And he says, if you'll put your hand on some chlorine, raise your right hand, and swear to never do this again.
Wow.
True story.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So this is just pure ignorance because I don't know much of anything about solar. So if you're determining like how many panels, what it's going to cost you, is it like, how do you determine that? Is it like full energy replacement? Is it like a supplement to it? Is that, how do you determine how much you need and where they go?
It's a good question. We get that a lot. Essentially, you can call me or you can work with your installer. So all the installers are really good about essentially putting together a proposal of kind of what you think you want. So you may look at your total bill and be like, yeah, we have 7,800 kilowatt hours in a year. That's what our total is. And so we want to do half of that. So you would want a system that is sized appropriate, to do half of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could say, I want to offset all of my energy. So then you would look at what the total is. An installer can do this for you.
Okay.
Or I can do it as well. But essentially you're just looking at the total kilowatt hours that your home uses, and then you're sizing it appropriately. Now, not every house can accommodate whatever usage you're looking for. So that's where it comes down to like the geometry, the house, where it's tilted. Is it really going due south or is it going west? I mean,
Are there trees in the way, or are there all kinds of things preventing?
that's where the kind of, there is a little bit of an art to it about how much you want to offset, but also what can your house do as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in play there of like what you can do, but how much you want to pay for.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of is just kind of really depends on what you want to do. Now, I always tell people, don't go over your usage. So with my account, which is our online software tool, it's really great. You can go on there, you can see how much energy you're using at any given time of the day, and it's almost a real time. It's just a few hours behind. But you can see how much energy you're using at any time, so then you can do reports that'll print out, hey, I'm using X amount of kilowatt hours per year.
Yeah.
How can I line this up with the system that I want? But I always tell people, don't go over. Like, to me, you shouldn't be going over. You should always just do your usage, and that's it. Now, you may get between like a panel is like 6 foot by 3.5 foot, I think is like a standard panel. That'd be around 410 watts that it's producing for energy. So 1,000 watts is 1 kW, so then you can kind of look at it and strategically see how many panels do I need to get there. Yeah, so it's really up to the customer. That's what it is, and I always just kind of work with the customer. What are you really trying to do? Like, how much do you want to save? But also, how old is your roof? Are you going to have to get a new roof replaced soon?
That's a whole nother thing,
yeah,
right?
It's like you don't necessarily do something if you know in the next few years you're going to have to get a new roof. Some companies are offering like a one-time pull it off and do your roof and then reinstall. But I don't know if that's something really great either, because you're basically putting bolts into the rafters of your home over. I mean, so it's just like if you're on the fence, just wait and get your roof done.
Yeah, I talked to our buddy Jim Bellinger. Jim, when he's inspected homes, he's found the solar, the houses with panels. He feels the work has been very solid in what they've done. He had no evidence of leaking, stuff like that. When I talked to Tyler about the insurance side of this, there is an increase in your insurance, but what you need to know and what you need to follow up with some of the companies is that the warranty that they give also covers hail damage, and so it would be the replacement of, and then also the repair of the roof area in that. he says you got to be careful. You got to look at every warranty itself and
Of course, yeah.
get to know that.
Yes,
And
I
is
think
it a lifetime or is it like for a
Well, that's the
period
thing.
of
Yeah.
time?
That's the thing.
I've
Yeah.
seen
20
12.
years.
I've seen 12 years on panels specifically, but a lot of companies are just doing like 5 years on the inverters. So there's a lot that goes into that, and
Yep.
I always tell people really look at that carefully
Mhm.
because your insurance can cover it, but the manufacturing, if something happened, like it just wasn't producing energy anymore, you can get that one replaced. A lot of times it is the inverters that go bad before the solar panels because the panels are going to last for 25 years.
Sure.
They just don't produce as much energy at that end of the lifetime. Maybe like 80% of what their maximum output was when you first installed them. So they'll always produce, but
Yeah.
the inverters are going to go bad. The inverters, like I mentioned earlier, it's basically converting that DC energy to AC energy, and that's how that's driven, essentially.
Okay.
182 solar companies operate in Wisconsin. We don't have that
Wow.
many culverts.
So a lot
It
of
just shows you that the demand is high. I mean, they're out there trying to get as many houses as they can because there are incentives of up to about 5,000, I think is the number total, depending on where you are.
It's 30% of installed
Yeah.
cost. That's what it is.
Right.
I mean, it's 30%. You can get $500 from Focus on Energy. That's our statewide
Right.
energy efficiency program. That's another great one to have. So yeah, that's what it is, and that's been extended out now from till 2030 something. That 30%. So yeah.
Energy credits on your taxes too?
Yep,
So
Okay.
that's part of that. Here's what Zillow, our friends at Zillow, which we don't trust with our lives at
Then
all.
don't call them friends.
Well, sometimes you say friend, you don't mean it, you know.
It's a very loose term.
It
It
is.
has quotation marks around
So
it.
they did a study and they said that on average, I love this, on average, it increases the home's value by 4.1%.
Do they specify what area of the country?
No, they did not. And that also came out of Architect Digest magazine that I was doing research on. And so that's a $16,000 increase in the value of a home. Our buddy Tyler from Country Financial Insurance said that the value, the way that they insure it is whatever the cost is for the system, they add that to the value of the home. And I said, I don't agree with
yeah.
that, Tyler.
Now, I'm not a realtor, but I wouldn't think that that's how it would
No.
be. But I don't know that for sure. To
This
me,
is
I'm not-
insurance,
right.
so that's
Yeah.
just for insurance purposes.
So,
See
you
if
know,
they
we-
have it covered properly.
Right, we know it's cheap electric, a little bit more energy independence, but you're not. I think that's a false statement because you have to be on the grid. You've got to. In Wisconsin, you have to be on the grid for safety reasons.
Well, when there's snow on the roof, right? Like you can't,
Get your
you
snow
don't
rake
get
out.
any
Mhm.
snow rake.
There is such a thing.
Okay, I don't
Invented
have one
by
of those.
Yeah.
Gorelick Manufacturing out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah.
But then do you scratch your panels?
No,
You're
well,
raking your.
got a little
your
rubber
panel.
thing on it like a squeegee.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times there is a little bit of heat that is generated in that process, so a lot of times
Melts it off?
it will melt it slowly off.
That's cool.
and it'll
Not
come
like a
off
foot or two of snow, though,
No,
right?
not really. I
Welcome
mean,
to
there are some
Wisconsin.
people I've seen get up there, but I wouldn't recommend getting up and doing that.
No.
You know, if you are going to do solar, it's a good thing that you, like I mentioned, is you're working with installers, and you know, we don't partner with any one specific installer. However, all of the installers have to go through a series of forms, paperwork, plans, submissions to the utility.
Yeah.
And that's really what the utility is here for, is to help the customer through the process. And a lot of times the customer is just working with their installer, and then we work with the installer because it's a safety issue. We have to make sure that when you're paralleling with the utility with energy, it needs to be done safely.
Yeah,
There's
and
code.
correctly.
Yeah, so there's code issues. I mentioned that UL listing for the inverters. We want to make sure that that is happening because you can't push energy back to the grid. You could potentially do that. We have a PV disconnect switch that has to be installed as a safety mechanism to where energy can't be pushed back to the grid if you have an outage. Now that UL listing is basically prohibiting that inverter from making energy, but it's like a fail-safe. If something did happen, that PV disconnect could be totally shut off and it's going to stop energy being pushed back to the grid. So there's lots of things that go into play with the NEC code. from our standpoint, we like our interconnections to the utility a certain way, but then you've also got the city of Sun Prairie who has their own permitting process.
Right.
And that's more of like NEC code, where how you're bonding, it's more or less kind of the electrical side of it. We more are along the lines of safety and how we're specifically interconnecting. So
Sure.
you can interconnect. Mainly people do that through the panel in their basement. It's through a breaker, right? But if a system gets too large, you can interconnect at the meter, but you have to have a special lug kit that's put on that. So there is two ways to really do that. The utility allows for that to happen.
Okay.
Now there are some other ways that under NEC code can be done, but some per utilities, specifically as it relates, those are really the only two way.
Sure.
Is connecting into the breaker, but also using a lug kit at the meter. At the meter socket, because that's how it's installed. So that's a good thing for customers to know. They always want to know, well, how can I connect it? Because you can run out of room in your panel. You may not have enough breaker space to actually put in for installing solar.
Sure.
And if that's the case, then that's how you would do it. And there's incentive for upgrading your panels now. Like this is even turning into like it's a new electrification tax incentives. If you're going to upgrade the size of your panel, you can get rebates and
Sure.
incentives for it now.
So there's a few things I want to touch on. We got 9 minutes left.
Sure.
And you are a talker, dude. You're as bad as I am. That's a compliment.
Yeah.
You told me
it's
you are.
natural
Yeah.
on radio.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was thinking that you
So
are.
here's
Yeah.
what I've learned from you guys so far is that you are the advocate. You are the ones, you're the experts. Go to your website, start
Yeah.
there, but talk to you guys.
Yes.
Because we know that there are some of those installers, and also Tiffany from Wisconsin Better Business Bureau,
Mhm.
she'll let you know the bad installers. She'll let you
Yeah.
know where they're ranked and all that.
Yeah.
And don't forget that the installers, or the company you're buying from, isn't always installing the unit. So that's a concern. Here's what I want people to know though. Okay, if you lease your solar panel, you don't own it. If you don't own it, you don't get the credits. Got me? If you finance it, that's a different subject, and you can get the credits for it. And like we said, the percentage on
Right.
there is
Yep.
big. And you get that 1 year.
And I think they require you to pay that incentive the 30%
Right.
incentive. They want that within the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then here's the other thing. So you've now spent, let's say, $20,000. Can I use that number for?
Sure.
Is that a good number?
Sure.
You just spent $20,000 and you financed it. Now you're going to go sell your house. Here's what happens. Let's walk you through this. If you're going to sell your house and you have a loan on your solar panels, you have a lien on your house. They've attached a lien to your house. That has to be paid out of the proceeds at the transaction. So if you have $20,000 in equity and you owe $20,000, your equity is gone. Now most people say, well, can't they just pick up the loan? They don't want to pick up the loan. That could be a situation where they go, we don't want to pick it up.
Right.
It's your responsibility
Yeah.
on there. The lease situation, if they have a lease, and that lease has to end, and then a new lease has to begin on there. So there's some things to be aware of, and like I was saying earlier, it's not the exact value. You're
Right.
not adding that value to the
Yeah.
property value. It's not that way.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I was saying earlier. It's just like compare the rates, the interest rates of where can you go out and shop and get better rates than what that person, the installer, is going to do.
Right.
Because what we have happening is that we have installers from out west that are making their way out east
Okay.
from the west, and they're like 182. We don't have probably 182,
No, we
but
don't
they're
have it. Not in Wisconsin.
but they're based out west,
Right.
and they're coming and making calls, and they're going door to door, etc. So, yes, and at the price is going to come down, which is going to make solar. So we don't mind solar. Actually, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, do you guys hate solar?" No, it's actually like the opposite. We're here to help the utility and provide information to the customer and making sure that everything is like okay as far as
His
like what
chair's thinking too.
what they want to do for their specific
I
project.
thought he was having a stroke.
No, so
No.
what happened was this got caught
On the wheel?
on the wheel.
Happens all the time.
Sorry.
So did you say though, like if there's a lease situation, somebody sells their house,
Mhm.
then what?
The lease ends, and they have to rewrite a lease. So if
But
you're,
what if they don't want it?
then that's not their problem. The buyer, it's not the buyer's problem, it's the seller's problem.
Does the seller then have to have the panels removed from the property?
It's a fixture. Well, the question is, what is a
Wow.
fixture with solar panels? Is
Yeah.
it the bracketry that's holding the panels, or is it the bracketry and the panels? Just like a TV, wall-mounted
Mm-hmm.
TV, the TV is not the fixture, it's the bracket that's holding it,
But this is in the roof, and if they have to take the panels off the roof,
right?
are they disturbing the shingles, or are they just, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it could be a whole big thing.
So your question, that's a great question, and so the way it's handled is in your disclosures, and I haven't seen a disclosure done that way. There's never one, and I think that we're going to see Wisconsin Realtors Association will ask for a form change in the real estate condition report that shows solar panels. We need a new section for that.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we have to, if you're selling your house, if I'm the listing agent in there, I need to disclose that it is a leased product. In other words, the homeowner doesn't own the product. It's like leasing a car. You don't own it.
Right.
So how are you going to deal with that? And then actually getting that information from the solar company prior to even putting these things on.
Yeah, I mean, there's different installers that are offering certain
Yeah,
different ways to do it, but
Right.
it's like they technically, the owner of the home does own the panels on some of the ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
They're just making a payment. But yeah, then I've seen some others that
Right.
that are not that way.
Sure.
So yeah.
And everything's negotiable. And
Yeah.
so it's all about disclosure.
Yeah.
That's the key. And then how you structure an offer to purchase too. Because you can still negotiate on that. I mean, you can negotiate on it. But you're going to get somebody that really likes the panels and they'll jump all over it and they have no problem adjusting to it. And then you have other people go, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to replace those one day at $300 a panel or whatever. But
Yeah.
But if you're in the middle of a loan and you're selling your home, whoever's buying your home has to take over the loan.
no,
No?
they do not.
Well, what happens?
Because the lien is in the seller's name, not in the buyer's.
it just has to be paid off upon
It has to
closing.
be paid off out of proceeds,
Okay.
or whatever, but it has to be paid off.
Okay.
'Cause it's a lien. A lien
Yeah.
has to be satisfied. You have
Yeah.
to give a clean, warrantable title at
Yep.
closing.
Yep.
And so that's what happens to it.
Interesting.
I know, right?
Hmm.
Wow. You guys you're right. You're exactly right. He needed to be here.
Yeah.
And I
But-
appreciate that.
we get a lot of calls, and I think it's just good that, we're just seeing more and more solar. We're getting more and more calls from customers. I just think it's a good thing to kind of reach out and
Yeah.
touch as many of the
Yeah,
people as we
absolutely.
can.
I think we're going to have to do this show again with other information about it. I think it's just cool to have Sunbury Utilities in here chatting about because people don't realize it. All they want to know is I flick the switch and it turns on.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what we mainly focus on. This is something that, if people want to interconnect with the utility grid, we're here to just make sure that they're doing it properly. And our main focus is keeping the lights on, but we also, when it comes to solar, we just want to make sure it's done safely.
There you go.
So yeah.
You're like Motel 6, right?
We'll leave the lights on.
We'll leave the
lights
Oh my gosh. Click right. You all, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Great subject, and thanks for, I feel educated. I know that. Actually, a little overwhelmed by going, you're going to connect what to what? I
You don't
need
have
do
to
that.
know.
I'm
You gotta do a
calling-
lot of
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
I'm calling Clint. That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
Hey, Lloyd,
that's-
is Clint there? Yeah, can you just come out and rip my electrical out of my house and fix this?
No, it's totally fine. Like, that's what people do. They call a utility, and like, I've had people approaching me, and I don't know. And then I just get the call, and yeah, we usually talk through it with the customer and just seeing what they want to do, and just kind of help them from there.
Way cool. Hey, folks, you guys are awesome. This came from your suggestion. You wanted more information about this, and that's what we're doing. So reach out to Sunbury Utilities. Go to the website, sunburyutilities.com, and check it out. There's a calculator on there, you said? I didn't see it.
It's,
So-
it's on my account.
It's on my account?
So if you go to our website.
Why would I want to be on your account?
Well, if you log into our website and you have your account registered,
Yeah.
you can
Not
see your
her
electric
account.
usage, your water usage,
Yeah.
your
Okay.
Yeah,
click on
so-
there. You can pay your bill, sign up for
I'll
outage
figure it out.
notifications.
I do all that. I was on it all morning long.
Oh, good, great.
I couldn't figure it out.
But that calculator is a rates calculator.
Yeah.
So that's a comparison tool. So the solar one, if you go on the Going Solar, there's like a couple of links you can take, and it'll take you out to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thanks again for being here.
Okay.
And folks, we'll catch you on Monday morning at 7 o'clock. And thanks for joining us. Hey, you. Glad you're here, Miss Laura. Bye,
Glad to be
Sunbury.
here. Bye, Sunbury.
All right, thanks for
Bye,
having us.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're still on Facebook Live. I always warn people because all of
Don't
a sudden
say anything naughty.
stuff comes out.
Nobody would do that, right?
2. There we go.
I told you he was the expert.
I know, right? It's awesome.
That was really good information.
It really was.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I think
Yeah,
that's good.
absolutely.
And we didn't even get into like the real technical parts
No.
of like